last talked, something pretty big happened. I had to learn the Rite of Spring, and it was something that I thought that I would be able to do on short notice, and I realized that that piece isn't really something that you learn short notice. And I had to learn it. It was maybe 4 or 5 days that I had, and I was doing it for piano four hands with my friend Liz, and it was in Alaska, of all things. And I just remember thinking to myself, I've always had an issue with learning things on time. I think everybody does in some ways. They always think that it's going to be okay, and you know, I don't need that much time. But I think I have a lot of confidence in myself that I can do it quickly, and I've been better at learning things quicker as I get older. But in this case, I should have started earlier, and it really opened my eyes onto knowing that I need to start earlier. And so what happened was that I was in a music festival, and I had other pieces too that I had to do. I was busy pretty much every night, and I didn't have enough time to really work on it. I was up from midnight until 5 o'clock in the morning working on the Rite of Spring, and didn't love it, to be honest. I kind of hated the piece, but I think it was more because I was worried about what to do with it. I didn't really know how to approach it. And it has such a big history behind it that I wasn't actually really aware of at the time. And it's funny because it's actually Elizabeth's favorite piece. And I've heard it for years in her car and in her apartment. And I was thinking she was the weirdest person ever to listen to this on her free time. But I practiced a lot. Practiced and practiced and practiced. And I had to really gather every self-discipline that I could get for this. And I wanted to do it. I didn't want to give up. I don't give up. I try not to anyway. Sometimes I know I need to, but I don't like to give up. So I practiced every night after my concerts, and I learned the piece. And before the concert, I was a little nervous also because I didn't know what the audience reaction was going to be. It's a pretty powerful piece. And we did the concert. I was as nervous as I think I've ever been, and played it through. The audience actually loved it. I don't think we've ever had as much applause ever anywhere, and standing ovations. And after the concert, I thought to myself, this is an amazing piece. I changed my mind completely, loved it, and we've been playing it a lot since. I think just to be able to put your mind and your soul and your heart into the piece like that is very, very special. I would have liked to have known it a little bit better in my fingers, but I felt pretty confident in the performance, how it went, that it was a good performance. It was a really weird experience. I've been performing since I was 5 years old, and I usually, I get nervous when I go on stage. I think everybody does. It's not something that I can just go on stage and feel nothing. Usually it's good nerves. Sometimes it's not good nerves, and I feel like everything's shaking. My feet are shaking, my hands are shaking, and I feel like I can't perform as well as I should have or could have if I wasn't so nervous. But in this case, I really felt on edge about it. And in some ways, it actually helped the performance, because the Rite of Spring is it's so raw in so many ways. It's scary, actually. The piece is scary. And I feel like because I was feeling the way that I did, and I was worried and was nervous, it kind of helped the performance. It's horrible. It's really, really hard. It's not just the technical aspect of it, but especially for playing it for four hands, you have it all over the place. You are crossing, and it's a kind of music that doesn't really make sense. So it's not like Mozart or Beethoven or Schubert or Schumann, where you hear it and it makes sense. This is the kind of piece that you'll hear all of a sudden a chord where it sounds wrong, but it's right. And so you always have to go through and make sure that every single note is correct. And it's very, very tricky. I don't think I thought about that when I was 5, 6, 7 years old. It was more the pleasure of playing at that time. I've had a lot of moments when I was younger. I had a lot of moments, not anymore. But I had times where I didn't want to play anymore, and it was difficult because I wanted to go out and play and do things that my friends did, and that was maybe a tough time, maybe 9, 10, 11, something like that. But I've always wanted to perform. I think it's such a gift that you can present to other people, and it means a lot when people come up to me and say I've given them an experience and as something that they will remember for the rest of their lives. And to be able to do that is a really amazing feeling. You know, that's very hard. It's a very difficult profession to have, just to travel all the time. I already travel a lot, but I'm not gone constantly, and I have the opportunity to come back home. And I like that combination, and also because I teach here, so I'm bound to be here at least the beginning of every week. I have flexibility there, but I do have to come back to Atlanta. And I like where I am now, where I can focus on both and not be gone all the time. I have to say, I prefer playing chamber music to solo playing. I always have. I think the aspect of just playing with other people and just communicating and the social aspect of it too, and being able to discuss musical things and just be together and enjoy it together is something that I've always been a fan of. And I prefer that to just sitting by myself all the time. It gets kind of lonely. I have a lot of traveling this summer, actually. I'm going to Rome and Italy at the end of May, and then back here to do some concerts. It's a lot of festivals in the summertime, so it's fun to get to travel for those. I have, after Highlands Cashers Music Festival in North Carolina, I have the Kon-Tiki Festival in Norway in June. It's mid-June. And then I'm actually going on vacation, which is weird. It feels weird to say that. But I'm going sailing for 10 days with my family. And then I'll come back here, do some more concerts, and then I'm going back to Europe, and then back here. So it's a lot of US, Europe, US, Europe. Mexico is in December and February next year, March next year, which I'm really excited about. I've never been to Mexico, and I hear that this town is some of the best that they have to offer. So I'm really excited. San Miguel. Not really, actually. I still have Atlanta as my base. I travel. I love what I do here. I feel like Atlanta has become such a home base for me now. I've only been here permanently for a little under 2 years. And I just feel like I've been welcomed with such open arms by every single organization here. I've just been very blessed and very lucky to have just landed all these amazing friendships and collaborations here in the city. Yeah, I didn't expect it in the beginning. I was a little nervous about it. It's always weird coming to a new place, but I love being here. Yes, I am playing the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto with the Atlanta Philharmonic Orchestra, and it's coming up in 2 weeks. And it's a concerto that I learned when I was in college, but I haven't performed it since. So only a few years ago, slash 15 years ago. It's maybe one of the hardest piano concertos out there, but it's also maybe one of my favorites. I mean, I'm biased to the Gregorian Minor Concerto, but because it's from my country. But as far as piano concertos goes, this is kind of the war horse. And I'm really excited to play it with orchestra. I haven't played it with orchestra before, just with second piano, so it'll be really fun to do. It actually starts next week, so it'll be really fun to do that with a big orchestra. I feel like I know the concerto very well just because I played it when I was younger, which always helps a lot. And I have it in my fingers, and I think I have 2 or 3 with the orchestra. And yeah, it's I listen to it a lot. I listen to it in my car. I listen to it when I work out. It's important to have that in your ears, and I feel like I know the concerto pretty well now. So. It's really interesting also to hear Rachmaninoff play it, because the way he plays it, it's so different to how people play it these days. And I like to think that my performance of it is something in between, because I love the way that the old school does things. But I also try to listen to more modern recordings, but I also feel like I have my own stamp on it. But I think it's always really important to listen to recordings and gather sort of information and yeah, just from different styles. because when I was in Chicago last year, I did a charity concert for the Puerto Rico floodings and the hurricane. It was in a church, a Norwegian church actually, up in Chicago. They have a very strange, but they have a Norwegian church there. And I did a benefit concert, and there was a girl that came up after the concert, and I'm talking to other people, and she's standing there for maybe 20 minutes just waiting to talk to me. And she finally comes up, and I'm done speaking to everybody else, and she's just waited there very patiently. She comes up and she says, just thank you. And then she can't say anything else because she starts sobbing. And she said she had just walked past the church and she saw the advertisement for the concert. She was from Puerto Rico, and she, sitting in the concert, she had just started to feel all these just feelings that she hadn't actually been able to express before. But hearing the music that we were doing, she was able to. And it was a struggle for her to even say these things because she was crying so much. And she, but crying and smiling at the same time, I guess. And that to me is so special, to be able to provoke that kind of feeling with people, because music is something that there's no words to it. So you're able to imagine things in your head and come up with feelings that you don't necessarily do from poems or theater. But to be able to make people feel is something that really drives me and makes me so happy that I have the profession that I have. I did a lot of Greek songs, actually, lyric pieces, and the ballad. Obviously, it was a Norwegian church. Most of it was related to Scandinavia. But I feel very connected to the music from Norway because it's my place. That kind of feeling that you get when you have made someone just feel, it is an amazing experience. It's the same thing with children. I've had some kids at my concerts, and they've come up to me with their parents or whoever's with them, and they've wanted to start playing, and they've been inspired. And to be able to do that for children is extremely important and very special. And to get little cards and letters from kids that see me play, it's an amazing feeling. Actually, it's very interesting that you brought that up, because if I play something from memory and I'm on stage in a concert and I start thinking about, oh, what comes next? What is next? Then mentally, I forget because I'm so worried about it. But if I confidently just keep playing and know what I'm doing is right, then it doesn't happen. But if I'm thinking about it and doubting myself and starting to doubt myself, then it usually actually goes wrong. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really important to keep your focus just forward and not what could go wrong, what could happen here. But just relying on your fingers is not always good. You have to know it mentally too. You have to know it in your mind. The only time that has actually happened, touch wood, is I did a competition in Norway, actually, north in Norway. And I did the Greek ballad, and it's got a lot of different variations. And it's not a very well-known piece. And I all of a sudden just couldn't remember what the next variation was. So I just went on and jumped into the next variation. And because most of the jury members didn't know the piece, they didn't notice. So it's good to, if that happens, if something like that happens, you don't go and run off stage. I mean, I think that's like ultimate nightmare is to do that. But you pick yourself up and you find your place again. It's nothing, thankfully it's not happened to me in concert. But if it does happen, you just get on with it. Eventually the memory will come back. And sometimes don't do any facial expressions that will give you away. Just keep going, pretend this is how it's supposed to sound. If you're doing a Mozart sonata and all of a sudden it sounds like Stravinsky or Bartok, then this was how it's meant to be, guys. And then it's not the end of the world, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, the performance should be because you want to give people an emotional experience, not because, and obviously the technique needs to be there, which is the foundation, really. But they're not there the audience is not there to judge you and want you to fail. They want you to succeed. They want to be part of something great. And instead of thinking the audience is your enemy, they're your friends. And that's something that my teacher very early on told me about, because I used to be very, very nervous going on stage. And I'm not as nervous anymore. I sometimes get a little bit nervous, but unless I play the Rite of Spring. For the first time. But you have to think of them as your team members, not as your enemies. Yes, not as your enemies. They're just there to be part of something wonderful.
Right.
And that's what ultimately is your goal, what you want to give them.